Okay, yeah, we've been alone in a cabin at night. One cabin had a bunch of girls and one cabin had a bunch of parents.
So I just want to talk about some safety rules.
I know safety rules.
I know you know safety rules.
I don't want to go over them again. Welcome to True Parenting, where we create, in the style of true crime documentary dramatizations, Alicia's parenting style and actual interactions with our children. I am going to play the roles of our children with their consent. Hope that you enjoy.
Okay, Shayla, so what I found out about camp is you guys are going to be in your cabins with just the youth at night.
Okay, yeah, we've been alone in a cabin at night. One cabin had a bunch of girls and one cabin had a bunch of parents.
Yeah?
Yep,
So I just want to talk about some safety rules, right?
I know safety rules.
I know you know safety rules.
I don't want to go over them again.
We don't need to go over the actual safety rules. I mean, we will a little bit, but mostly we're going to talk about a plan if there's something you don't like or makes you feel uncomfortable, or if you feel like it isn't safe. We're going to talk about a plan about what you do. Because sometimes in the moment when unexpected things happen, we freeze up or we get scared or we don't know what to do. So if you have a plan in advance, it just makes it a lot easier.
That deer is roaming around in the morning.
These things happen. Does that make sense, Shayla?
Yes.
So it's just part of life. So you're in a cabin with girls you know, but there's going to be a lot more girls there too. There's going to be a lot of people you don't know. And I'm sure a lot of kind and nice people. And occasionally we don't know if there's anyone who struggles with maybe being unkind or being a bully.
I has a Bryson.
Yeah, I know. And this is giving you so much practice with dealing with difficult people.
So much practice.
And I know it doesn't seem like fun, but there can be value in it. But sometimes there's people that struggle, and whether they struggle with being kind or being a bully, or maybe they struggle with viewing things on their phone that might hurt them, or with using unkind language, there's lots of things in the world people can struggle with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't shame people for struggling, but what we do is we keep ourselves safe, right?
Yeah.
Is it ever bad to keep yourself safe?
No.
No, it's never wrong to keep yourself safe. So if something's happening because someone's looking at pornography on their phone or showing somebody else pornography on their phone, or if somebody's watching something that's crude or rude and you feel uncomfortable, or if someone is teasing someone else and making fun of them, or if someone is making sexual jokes, these are all things that someone could do, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying anybody is going to do any of this stuff, but like I said, people struggle, and there's always been people who struggle. And youth are struggling now more than they ever have with those challenges. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we're just having a conversation about keeping yourself safe, because when you get a lot of youth together, the chances of those challenges coming up are higher. And that's why your dad and I are really careful about sleepovers, right?
Yeah.
And we only do sleepovers with people we really trust.
Like my best friend.
Like your best friend and your cousins and your brother's house. And you know, that's about it. These are the reasons we have these rules, to keep you safe. So you can have a lot of fun at camp and you can have a lot of fun at sleepovers, but I need you to promise me that if anybody does anything along any of those lines or anything that you feel uncomfortable with, that you go and get a leader first.
I know who I can go to.
Because of some of these dynamics, there are kids with smartphones that are going to have their phones in the cabin at night and unsupervised access on phones. And a phone isn't a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a tool. And it's all about how you use the tool. And some kids struggle with that level of responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Because just like when you get older, you're perfectly capable of learning how to drive a car. Would it be appropriate if I said, "Hey, Miles, you're going to drive the car today"? Why would that not be appropriate?
He's too little.
He's too little. Is he physically big enough to drive the car?
No.
Has his brain developed enough where he can think about all the safety issues that go along with driving a car?
No. But I think I have enough brain.
You see, you're old enough to start learning how to drive a car, right? And part of my job as a parent is to not put you in an unsafe situation that is more than you can handle. So that's what we're doing. We're talking about this because we don't want it to turn into an unsafe situation. People always have their agency and could do something unsafe. And it's not like you have advanced warning.
Yeah.
Like when something unsafe happens, it's always a surprise. It's always shocking. It always takes you by surprise. So we talk about it and remind ourselves that it's always okay to be safe. It's okay to ask for help from someone you trust. And if you don't get that help that you need the first time, you keep asking and you be insistent about it.
Okay.
These are the best ways to keep yourself safe, because sometimes people who do tricky things and people who do unsafe things, they do it hoping that nobody is going to say anything. They do it hoping that you're going to keep it a secret, or you're going to feel shame, or you're going to feel guilty. They do it hoping you're not going to want to get someone in trouble. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sometimes they are genuinely not good people, but most of the time, it is regular people that are already hurting, and they don't realize how much they're hurting others or how much they're hurting themselves. That's generally what's happening, especially when it's young people. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, good talk.
I hate these talks.
Oh, well, why do you think I have these talks with you?
So I'm prepared.
And so you're safe.
Okay.
Okay, love you.
Love you too, honey bunches of oats. Ah, the fun and joys of childhood, summer camp, and sleepovers.
I love it. There are so many good things about being a child and so many fabulous memories.
Yeah.
And you don't need me to tell you that there are concerns and fears and challenges that come along with that. And there always have been as parents, but I feel like in this age of technology, it is only getting more so.
Compounded, yeah, for sure.
And so we cannot ignore those possibilities for our children, but we also cannot live in fear.
So hard being a parent.
And so this is just an example of how our family handles those conversations. And we put those things that can feel scary and overwhelming and fearful for adults and for children in terms that we can understand that do not feel so fearful, right?
Yes.
And we talk about it in terms of safety, right?
And something I love about how you parent, and the reason I wanted to do these true parenting series with you is for a lot of parents, being nurturing or being playful comes naturally because we just kind of see that's how you interact with children. What's more difficult is to provide clarity and structure and understanding, and you excel at that.
Yeah. Well, by my natural personality, I'm good at the clarity and the structure, and I have had to work on the playfulness and the nurturing and the understanding, but we're getting there, right? And this isn't the only way to handle this conversation. It's just a way that works for me, and I feel like is a way that is serving and supportive for our children.
It's worth sharing for sure.
Yeah. And so we start having these conversations with our children when they're about 3 years old, right? And we have our family safety rules, and we talk about body safety. And so you get thrown into the middle of this with our teenager, right? And she says, "I don't want to have another safety conversation. I know what this looks like," right? And you feel that from her. And I go, "I know you know what the rules look like, but we're going to revisit this. And here's the reason why we're going to revisit it," right? If you haven't started having those conversations with your children, start now.
No time to lose!
And here's the thing. Here's my goal when I have those conversations, and something to consider as you decide what your goals are as you have those conversations. I never want them to be had with shame or guilt. I always want them to be had with love and understanding.
Yes.
And so teaching those clear boundaries of here are the healthy boundaries for you to have. And then talking about here are the possible ways that someone could cross those boundaries. And I talk about it and I use the words tricky because there are some tricky people out there that purposely do manipulate. And there are people out there that are hurt. And it's more common for a youth that has been hurt to hurt someone else.
Because it's what they know.
Right.
Yeah.
And quite often there has been some type of sexual abuse or bullying or something like that that they've experienced, and they don't know or understand how to process it, and out of their own pain, they are perpetuating it.
And it's beautiful the way you approach this because it's about preparation, not fear.
Yeah.
And it's also very compassionate towards everybody, including people who might be a danger in one
Right.
way or another. It's not teaching our children to be afraid of them or to judge them or to hate them, but also to be prepared and how to protect themselves. And it's a wonderful balance.
Yeah. And so asking that question of, is it always okay to keep yourself safe?
Yeah.
Right? Changing that perspective. Because this particular child I was having this conversation with, she has a very tender heart. She doesn't want to get someone in trouble. She doesn't want someone to be hurt.
Yeah.
And so that would absolutely be a fear or a challenge for her.
And that could be exploited potentially.
It very well could be. And if she had grown up in a different environment, she would be very susceptible to shame and to guilt,
Yeah.
right? So that is more of what I focus on in my conversation with her. With my other children, we still talk about body safety and boundaries, but I more focus on the things that are going to tend to be a challenge for their personality type. So we talk about the value of having a plan,
Yeah.
right? Because I grew up in the 90s with the DARE program,
Mm-hmm.
right? Dare to keep kids off drugs.
Kids, say no to drugs.
You
I
need to
had
have
the
a
t-shirt
plan.
for sure, yeah.
Who knows how effective that was? I don't know. But the reality is, it is so much easier in a time of arousal, which is just high emotion, overwhelm emotion,
Mm-hmm.
to already have a plan and say, this is what I'm going to do.
Because when you're overwhelmed emotionally, you can't think
You're
clearly.
flooded.
And so since you can't think clearly, the plan has to be ready so you can just fall on it. Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I so often visit with my children, is that plan. And it's important to me that my child knows if anything ever happens, it is never their fault. Never, ever their fault. We talk about the shame, we talk about the guilt, we talk about the potential of other people applying shame and guilt, and
Yeah.
how it's a lie and how it's a trick. And it is always okay and important to keep themselves safe. And we're
Absolutely.
going to get them the support they need, and we're going to get anyone else involved the support that they need. And lastly, they go to trusted adults to ask for help. And that always starts with us as the parents, but at summer camp, we're not there, right?
Yeah.
She has her phone where she can call us. Reception can be iffy. We specifically talked ahead of time which adults she felt like she could trust more, that she has more of a relationship with, that she would go to them and she would ask them for help, and that they would call us. And then I actually talked to those adults in advance. And I said, hey, I understand there might not be as much adult supervision in the cabins. This is our family safety plan.
Yeah.
And the adults 100% completely understood what I was talking about and why I was talking about it. And they were like, great, so happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've enjoyed this, we've got an entire playlist of true parenting videos for you to check out. But I have a question for you. How do you handle summer camps and sleepovers? What are your rules? How do you have these conversations? What was helpful for you about this? And what would you add to that? What can you contribute that will help our members to have these conversations with their own family? Let us know in the comments below, because we love to learn from you.
So until next time, remember to keep shining. We need your light.